Did the 1960 film Beyond the Time Barrier project a future 2024 that matches our society today? Or did it totally miss the mark?
Welcome to the 10-Second Film School. I am Prof. Linus. Thanks for tuning in. I was doing some digging online and I found this really cool sci-fi film from 1960 titled Beyond the Time Barrier, directed by Edgar G. Ulmer. First of all, if you haven't seen any of Edgar Ulmer's early low-budget films, you owe it to yourself to check them out. Born in Moravia, Austria-Hungary, what is now the Czech Republic, he came to the US in his 20s and became one of the most sought-after poverty row directors. Some of his classics weren't made until the man was 50 years old, and even at that stage of his career, quite a few of his earliest films were shot on a budget of only $300 to $400. The film Beyond the Time Barrier stars Robert Clark, Vladimir Sokolov, and Darlene Tompkins in her first role, who went on to feature in two Elvis movies, Blue Hawaii and Fun in Acapulco. Beyond the Time Barrier was made when the director was 56 years old. Starring his own daughter, Ariane Ulmer, the film was set 64 years into the future from 1960, so the time they are living in is 2024. There's a colorized version, which actually plays very well, especially in the wide shots. They look much more grand and exude realism more so than the black and white original. However, every stream of the black and white version I could get my hands on had a stronger sound mix. The science of this film is what gives it its curious value. I thought the film was going to go into a nuclear war subplot, but in the story, it is actually the atomic tests of the 1960s which led to a virus outbreak in 1971, which renders a majority of the citizens deaf and mute. No doubt a strategic budgetary solution for the actors anyway. Now we can safely say that this film does not reflect a prescient view of our time. Although mad props for the production design you see here, which is 8 years prior to 2001: A Space Odyssey and the original Planet of the Apes, and 6 years prior to the original series Star Trek. The Earth in 2024 depicted is powered through solar energy and populated jointly by 3 distinct groups of people. A class of elites who operate and live at the Citadel, a group of scientists from the 70s who also traveled to the same time, and the mutant underlings, the ones most severely affected by the plague. The film would have been a bit more believable if the story wasn't set in 2024, in my opinion. It seems like the world we see, the way it's structured, their unfamiliarity with the United States, could have been more plausible if this was set in 2500 AD, or even beyond that. The movie Galaxina was set in the year 3000, for example. I just don't think the planet would have changed this much in just 64 years from Major Allison's time. Also, the scientists of the future comically speak of distances in miles, and the film spends 1/3 of the movie explaining the time jump to the audience. The hair, replete with pointy beards, and clothing styles are pretty standard fare for late 50s, early 60s, as are many of the furniture pieces. Some of the stronger elements from the movie is that it shows cooperation between the US and Russia. The lead female scientist's name is Markova, and of course the pulpy futurism markers, like how the triangular elevators and doors open up, like they're on some Gene Roddenberry imagined world. Editorially, it is cool to see the triangle wipes from scene to scene. You notice them at several junctures in the second half of the film. I think we see it about 3 times or so. I don't know why they suddenly go into this editing mode only for the second half of the movie, but maybe it's because the second half is lighter and more comical than the first. One item of interest to note is that the film starts out with an opening credit roll that ascends and warps upwards. This credit roll was made famous much later in Star Wars, with the words scrolling upwards and away from the viewer. What other movies do you know that were set in 2024? Comment below and share your thoughts. Hi everyone, if you liked what you saw, please follow me at the social media accounts you see on the screen. If you wish to show more support, I will also include a link to my Patreon page and a link to purchase my new classroom textbook. Thank you so much again for visiting, and don't forget to subscribe.